Our group in Second Life consisted of Cassandra, Rebecca, Rachel, Zach, and myself, Ted. We discovered a club on Second Life called BittR.end, and it offers an interesting look into the way people communicate on Second Life. This particular environment is both similar and different to real life as well as to other clubs in Second Life. We will be covering the music, verbal communication, nonverbal interactions, and environment of this particular club compared to real life and Second Life's Energy Club.
Music plays a huge role in this location, and we discovered that the main genre was rock and heavy metal. The DJ was very interactive with everyone and made sure to play any requests that were made. We were able to find out that DJ Billy is British because he would use his mic to give out shout-outs. This was very appealing to us because it allowed for an interactive experience, and as well as someone who guides the conversation. Behind him in the DJ booth is a neat digital board that shows the song currently playing, as well as what was already played. Compared to offline clubs, this feature isn't available, but would be a great idea to incorporate in real-life clubs, because personally, if the DJ plays a song that I like but I don't know, I can easily look up to the digital board and retrieve the track ID. I've experienced the nightlife in New York City, and I can hands down say that it is very different than BittR.end. The music in the offline clubs is EDM, which is electronic dance music. This genre is becoming more popular in the US, and many partygoers enjoy it very much. On the other hand, we visited another club in Second Life called Energy Club, which is very much like the clubs I have experienced in New York City, with the music very high energy and almost all the users were dancing. BittR.end is more of a hangout place, but in a way disguised as a club so people can dance, and it also provides an interactive experience amongst the DJ and the users in which they are able to communicate amongst each other.
On top of the music being a large part of what is going on at BittR.end, the verbal communications also play a large role in the community environment. On top of the DJ existing and continuing the flow of conversation, there's also a hired dancer named Verve, and she was contributing largely to the flow of conversation among the people on the dance floor, in addition to welcoming everyone who came in. The group as a whole was very chatty, and there was never a dull moment because everyone would start a new topic whenever things would slow down. In fact, the chat room was pretty much like a bunch of friends who were just hanging out together and bullshitting. On occasion, people would casually bring up relatively serious topics of discussion, such as broken family dynamics, including dads and what it was like to be a father, medical complications, as well as personal stories about their own lives. In fact, Verve, the dancer, very casually dropped at one point that she had something happen to her, so she has memory loss, and anything older than a year is blurry to her now. The other great dynamic of the group at BittR.end was that everyone was very eager to be helpful. The moment I, Cassandra, mentioned some of my reservations about watching the show Doctor Who, both Verve, the dancer, and DJ Billy didn't hold back on giving me recommendations, as well as juggling side conversations with other members about other TV shows. On top of that, within the conversations, there's a lot of direct talk. This is most likely because the conversation flows so quickly that in order to respond to somebody, you have to actually call out their name. What happens eventually, though, is that everyone creates nicknames, and it creates a form of affection within the group since everyone is now talking in such informal terms. In fact, for example, Rebecca at one point mentioned that watching all of the Marvel hero movies would be a nice thing to marathon with their significant other. Most people in the group received nice me or do it me. It wasn't anything unique to her, and they would do it to anyone that was talking within the group, whether they just met them or if they're longtime members. On top of all of this, the DJ at times even checks up on who's talking and creates a very warm environment and feeling that you're already a part of this group of friends. In fact, at one point, me and Rebecca disappeared as we were working on this project, and the DJ called out to us and said, "Cassandra and Midori, you both okay? You're quiet." So I responded and said, "Oh yeah, just enjoying the music," and his response was glad to hear it. This wasn't a rare occasion either. When it was time for us to go, we said goodbye to everyone in the group, and we received very warm goodbyes, asking, and also people wishing that we would come back. So Rebecca said, "Hey guys, I'm gonna go now," and I said, "Gotta go, bye everyone." Verve, the dancer, said, "Take care, me and Cass," and the DJ said, "Take care, Midori, nice to meet you. Take care, Cassandra, nice to meet you." Overall, it was a very warm feeling, and the verbal communications on top of the music created a great environment that felt more as if you're with a family than you were just visiting a location in Second Life.
Nonverbal actions are one of the most important factors when it comes to discussing a location in Second Life. Through these interactions, we can determine how people behave and interact with one another without directly speaking with them. When we ventured into BittR.end nightclub, we got a bunch of different nonverbal behaviors that distinguish the type of people that inhabited an environment like this. On the dance floor, people tended to dance on their own, instead of associating and dancing with others. However, there were dance balls for men, women, and couples. One of the more interesting things that we noticed was that there were random dance moves being shown that alternated depending on what style of music was being played. At the front of the dance floor, there were dancers attempting to encourage the crowd of people occupying the dance floor. However, it was hard to tell if it was working or not, or if people were even paying attention to them. Despite the lack of verbal interaction, we still felt part of the group while in the club, simply because all of the characters were congregating with one another. Despite them dancing on their own, it seemed like it would be easy for your character to actually speak with the other people's characters. This particular club was more low-key, which also could add to the camaraderie that could exist inside a club like this.
At first glance, BittR.end looks like an airplane hangar, which suits the grungy heavy music vibe. It's comfortable, low-key, and the atmosphere accommodates more conversation to happen around the DJ and the dancers. BittR.end regulars return to this environment to primarily listen to music and chat, but the location begets the avatars to dance because it isn't socially acceptable to just stand. These nonverbals help loosen up the avatars to chat about private matters. Additionally, these avatars dress to fit the space by wearing sexy leather getups and outfits that don't look too polished. When compared to the Energy Club environment, with its shiny white tiles, washed-out plant decor, and lounge chairs, hanging out and making conversation seems secondary to listening to music and dancing. When users are first teleported to BittR.end, they face a large room with black-tiled floors, long red curtains, a broken glass vaulted ceiling, and staircases that climb up both sides of the room. Situated between the staircases is the DJ of the hour, who takes up the role as commander of this space. Equally influential in managing the conversation between users are the dancers who stand atop raised platforms beside the DJ. The dance floor space is missing a wall, and it opens up to the strip mall that sells clothes whose primary function is to make people's avatars look really good. You won't find animal costumes or furries here. Instead, you'll find fancy dresses for women, tuxedos for men, as well as revealing street clothes, such as crop tops, tight jeans, dangly suggestive clothing, and lingerie that all pay homage to the rock tradition. In this way, one can see BittR.end's aesthetics mimic certain standards of real life. While the outdoor courtyard space has a lot of room and a fountain as the centerpiece, people don't often congregate here. It's socially dead and serves no real interactive purpose. When visiting this space, during its low or peak hours, stay in the main club building. You're guaranteed to be welcomed by a friendly and inviting community.
As shown through images and our own narrative, the community environment at BittR.end has a lot in common and a lot that is different with clubs in real life and other clubs in Second Life. BittR.end varies in its music choice, verbal communication, nonverbal interactions, as well as its environment.